Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to this virtual outreach event. I am Tawana Preston, the Senior Vice President for the Office of Management Operations, and I'm excited to present this opportunity for you to hear from HUD and Ginnie Mae program leadership, who will share information about contracting opportunities in their space. You'll also hear from Michael Drain, Acting Executive Vice President for Ginnie Mae, who will share with you all of the great work Ginnie Mae is engaged in now and into the future. We are also honored to have Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman with us today, as well as Ron Flum, HUD's Chief Procurement Officer, and Jean Lynn Powell, HUD's OSDBU Director. I also want to thank the Ginnie Mae senior executive members who are joining us today and will be discussing key aspects of their program's portfolios. We're looking forward to their presentations, and we hope you will find them informative and an opportunity to get to know the Ginnie Mae program offices. At the end of the speaker presentations, we will open and invite attendees to breakout rooms, so you will have the opportunity to ask questions to the program offices of your choice related to small business opportunities. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Michael Drain, Acting Executive Vice President for Ginnie Mae. Thank you.
Thank you, Tawana, and thanks to your procurement management team and the team at the HUD Office of Small Business Utilization and our partners at the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer for organizing today's event. We are fortunate at Ginnie Mae to have such an interesting program and set of responsibilities and operations to manage. We're pleased to have this opportunity to present information about what we do and the opportunities that exist to partner with us. We have a great agenda for you today. We'll begin in a moment with HUD's Deputy Secretary, Adrian Todman. Before introducing the Deputy Secretary, however, I'd like to take a few moments to share some basic information with you about who we are, what we do, and our plans for the future. The name Ginnie Mae is, of course, a shortening of Government National Mortgage Association, and we are a government corporation located within the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We were created in 1968 to bring liquidity to the U.S. housing finance system, especially the parts of it that are provided direct support by the government. Early on in its history, Ginnie Mae created the first mortgage-backed securities, a great example of government innovation, and supporting the government's mortgage-backed securities program remains our primary job today. Under this program, we guarantee pools of mortgages created and serviced mostly by private sector companies, converting them into securities that, because of this government guarantee, are attractive to investors all around the world. Investments in Ginnie Mae securities, in turn, make funding available at attractive rates for new loans. Our partners in this are the federal agencies that manage lending programs that finance housing for the Americans that the government particularly wishes to support: the Federal Housing Administration and Indian Housing within HUD, the Loan Guarantee Program of the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Rural Housing Program within the Department of Agriculture. We're proud that the Ginnie Mae Mortgage-Backed Securities Program has proven its value over decades of stable and profitable operation, including through difficult environments. Recently, we have devoted considerable effort to meeting the challenges of the pandemic and helping the nation's recovery. In fact, since the financial crisis that began in 2008, Ginnie Mae's securities outstanding have grown from less than $500 billion to over $2 trillion. We have been able to do this by having an efficient operating structure that leverages a highly experienced staff and services procured from private sector firms to maintain reliable operations while investing in modernization. This makes us as good an example of an effective public-private partnership as can be found anywhere. To date, in fiscal year 21, Ginnie Mae has awarded a total of 24 contracts to small businesses, totaling close to $25 million, exceeding the goal established for us. These small business contracts will play a critical role in helping us fulfill our mission by delivering high-quality services. Let me be clear, doing business with Ginnie Mae is an opportunity to support the U.S. housing finance system, and with that opportunity comes great responsibility. Ginnie Mae continues to work to address the economic impacts of the pandemic and position itself for future success. It is vitally important that we continue to conduct outreach events like today's Industry Day to small businesses to share the great opportunities that exist for them to compete for Ginnie Mae contracting business. So we greatly appreciate your participation today. It's now my honor to introduce our next speaker, Adrian Todman, who was confirmed as the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development on June 10th, 2021, the 12th person to hold this responsibility. In this role, she manages the day-to-day operations of the department and advises and assists the Secretary in leading the department's nearly 7,000 employees. Her new role at HUD is a continuation of a career devoted to improving people's lives and strengthening communities through housing. After beginning her career in the office of then Congressman Ron DeLugo of the U.S. Virgin Islands, where she was born, Deputy Secretary Todman most recently served as the CEO of the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials from 2017 to June 2021. During her tenure, Deputy Secretary Todman improved the association's financial standing and business operations, created a member-centric culture, and advocated for funding and policies to preserve and develop affordable housing and help communities thrive. Before joining the association, Deputy Secretary Todman served as the Executive Director of the District of Columbia Housing Authority from 2009 to 2017. At DCHA, Ms. Todman implemented a national award-winning model to house veterans experiencing homelessness, increased homeownership opportunities for low and moderate income families, and oversaw large redevelopment efforts. She prioritized youth empowerment programs and workforce development and commissioned the first citywide needs assessment of public housing residents. Deputy Secretary Todman has also served in several career positions at HUD. First, as the manager of grant competition that focused on the redevelopment of distressed public housing sites, then as a policy aide in both the Office of Public and Indian Housing and the Office of the Secretary, where she worked with staff across HUD's programs on policy solutions and streamlining implementation. Deputy Secretary Todman believes that we have a responsibility to confront housing insecurity and help ensure access to good homes, to eliminate all forms of housing discrimination, and to build our nation's housing infrastructure in a way that expands equitable access to housing for all people. She works alongside Secretary Fudge to ensure that HUD has the staff and tools it needs to administer and provide oversight over programs critical to supporting families and to moving the country forward. Please welcome Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you to HUD. I'd like to thank Jean and her staff for teaming with Ginnie Mae's Office of Management Operations, led by Tawana Preston and her team. They have done a great job in making this small business outreach event happen. And I hope you find this event informative and take advantage of the opportunity to learn more about Ginnie Mae and its contracting opportunities and network with some of its current vendors. I'm also joined by our HUD and Ginnie Mae colleague, Michael Drain, Acting Executive Vice President, and Ronald Flum, our Chief Procurement Officer. I also want to welcome the senior executive members representing each of Ginnie Mae's program office, who will be discussing key aspects of their program's portfolios. This event continues the theme of making connections and forming partnerships, both within the government and with our external stakeholders and partners in the business community. We are looking for firms who are committed to excellent performance and carrying out HUD's mission as a core partner. Small businesses and HUD have a history of working together to serve the American people, and we both succeed when we work together. The department awarded over $470 million in prime contracts to small businesses during fiscal year 2020, and we are very proud of this work. Secretary Marcia Fudge and I are committed to small businesses. We know the role that you play in building a stronger economy and creating jobs. Through these jobs, more Americans are able to find and keep stable housing and achieve homeownership. HUD and the Biden-Harris administration are eager to expand our partnerships with small businesses and help drive greater economic progress and prosperity. I am very happy to say that the Senate has passed the President's Bipartisan Infrastructure Agreement, a landmark piece of legislation that will help put millions of Americans to work in good-paying jobs. President Biden has also called for historic new investments in America's housing sector through his Build Back Better agenda, a sweeping plan that will help construct or restore more than 2 million affordable places to live. The President's agenda would help more families of modest means to realize their dream of homeownership. It would help build more affordable rental housing in every corner of our country. And it will help spark greater opportunity for America's small businesses. Together, we will help our country take major strides toward realizing HUD's mission to create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities for all, and to provide every American with a secure and stable home. Again, thank you for joining us for today's outreach session. It is a pleasure to welcome you, and I hope you have a productive day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and let me add my welcome to Ginnie Mae's third annual Small Business Open House. I've had the distinct pleasure to be involved in all three of these open houses. The first one we did in the Weaver Building back in August of 2019, I believe. And then last year and this year's have both been virtual events. But I applaud Ginnie Mae's strong support for small businesses, and I want to add my support to that as well. So if you can give me the first slide. So I want to talk a little bit today about the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer. So we provide the department cradle-to-grave contracting support for Ginnie Mae, FHA, and all our customers within HUD. Now, our contract workload has been growing over the past few years, and I think that will continue into the future. So back, if you look at the slide, back in FY 2018, we had about a $1.6 billion procurement program. This year, it appears that it's going to cross over the $2 billion threshold, and that's projected to continue into FY 22. Now, a lot of that's being driven by Ginnie Mae, and Ginnie Mae represents about half of the dollars that we obligate each year for HUD. And Ginnie Mae and the Federal Housing Administration are our two largest programs and represent 75 to 80% of our contract obligations for HUD. So Ginnie Mae and housing are big business for us, and they are important customers. So if I could have the next slide. So we are a strong supporter of HUD small business and the socioeconomic goals as reflected in the Sba scorecards over the past few years. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Sba scorecard because I'm sure you've seen the latest one for FY20 that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that seems to show that HUD has fallen off considerably on meeting small business goals. And I want to assure you that that's not the case and that this is really an anomaly that's going to take us a couple of years to work through. So let me see if I can explain this. So our goals are set based on our total obligations of contracts going to small businesses. Now, over the years, and I'd have to go back to 2008 to fully frame this, in the housing crisis and the financial crisis that took place in 2008 and 2009, HUD had to predict how many homes were going to be foreclosed on and how many would come back as real estate owned property to HUD. And we had to put aside a certain amount of money for marketing and management of those HUD owned properties over the years. So with the single family housing finance system, there's been an effort over the past 2 or 3 years to clean up that system, which meant we had to go in and deobligate hundreds of millions of dollars from old contracts. So last year, we deobligated about $600 million off of contracts that were as old as 2008. Now, the bulk of those were from 2012 to 2015 or 2016. The problem with the federal procurement data system is when we deobligated that $600 million in contracts, mostly small business, they were deducted from our performance in FY 2020. That's why we showed a small business performance of about 1%. Now that process and that deobligation of these maintenance and management contracts continued into FY21. And in fact, there is a scenario where we may show small business performance as a negative number this year. And what that means is, we had planned on placing about $500 million in small business contracts this year. But when the federal procurement data system subtracts almost $800 million in deobligations off of old housing contracts, it may actually show HUD's small business performance as negative. Now, that's not an accurate picture. I mean, we're paying for the sins of a number of years ago and cleaning up a contract portfolio that should have been cleaned up 5, 6, 7 years ago. So this is going to be an anomaly for last year and again this year, and it may spill into FY22. But I do want to make it very clear to you today that OCPO, the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer, and HUD are strong supporters of our small business and socioeconomic goals. And we do support, and our Sba Scorecard over the past few years has demonstrated that with A+ ratings. And just because we had a stumble in the ratings in FY20 and possibly in FY21, that's not going to keep us from moving forward. So we have both small business goals for both small business prime contracts and also for subcontracts. Now, based on the nature of Ginnie Mae's portfolio, most of the opportunities are for small business subcontracts, and that's an important component. So Ginnie Mae's largest contracts, the single family master subservicer contracts, have significant small business subcontracting opportunities. And I raised this last year at the event, and I want to raise it again this year, is for small businesses that want to get into working with Ginnie Mae, you'll have to work with and reach out to those large contractors that are handling these single family master subservicer contracts and talk to them about small business contracting opportunities. Now, we've just completed our annual strategic acquisition plan for FY22, and that should be posted on the OSDBU website as contracting opportunities for small businesses for FY22 in the coming weeks. So check the website often, and if you have any questions regarding small business opportunities at HUD, you can either reach out to my office, the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer, and my small business specialist is Nicole Jackson, or you can reach out to the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, Jean Powell, and her office. So I want to take this time again to thank you for participating in this event today, and we hope to see many of you on future contract opportunities for HUD. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to Ginnie Mae's 3rd Annual Small Business Industry. I'm Jean Lynn Powell, the Director for HUD's Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. And I'm very pleased to join you today. And I want to thank Ginnie Mae's leadership for their strong commitment in small business participation and for convening their 3rd Annual Small Business Outreach event. Next slide, please. So here's a table of HUD small business goals. HUD's FY 2021 small business prime goal is set at 5%, and the socioeconomic category goals are statutory. So you'll see for small disadvantaged businesses, it's 5%. Women-owned small business goal is 5%. Hub zone prime goal is 3%. And the service disabled veteran-owned small business prime goal is 3%. HUD subcontracting goal is set at 35% for FY 2021. And the socioeconomic goals for subcontracting reflect those that are in statute for the prime goals. Next slide, please. Okay, so what does HUD buy? As you can see, these are the largest NAICS code sectors. And you'll see in terms of HUD acquisitions, the largest is Sector 52, which is investment banking and securities dealing. And Ginnie Mae's requirements, of course, fit in this NAICS code sector. Next up is IT, supplies and services, and NAICS code sector 53, housing related services. And that includes appraisals, inspections, property management, and marketing. HUD also has requirements in the area of data analytics. We do national studies and surveys and research and policy development. HUD also has requirements in general consulting services, as well as loan origination, underwriting, and other financial services. Next slide. Okay, here's just a pictorial breakout in terms of HUD's top 10 NAICS codes. And this is by FY 2020 HUD awarded dollars. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of HUD's OSDBU's responsibilities, I like to encourage you to think about HUD's OSDBU as the front door to HUD, and we're at your service. So a lot of vendors reach out to the OSDBU office, and we can help review capability statements and connect vendors to the appropriate offices that are seeking your services and your products. Here are a couple of the responsibilities highlighted in terms of what our office does. Our office prepares the forecast of contracting opportunities in coordination with all the program offices, and we update the forecast regularly. We are on version 6, and the forecast is posted on OSDBU's webpage. We will have the FY 2022 forecast shortly, and we do plan on posting that in the October, early November time frame. As I mentioned before, we do receive a lot of inquiries from the small business community. We also review legislation that impacts small businesses. We do a lot of outreach to the small business community. Of course, prior to COVID, we convened a lot of in-person outreach events in Washington, DC at HUD headquarters. But during the pandemic, we transitioned to virtual outreach events. And you can find previous recordings on OSDBU's webpage. We also coordinate several outreach sessions with HUD program areas. The small business utilization staff perform a yeoman's job in terms of reviewing thousands of small business reviews of requests for contract services. They also review subcontracting plans for maximum small business opportunities. And we also establish policy and develop and manage HUD small business programs. Next slide, please. In terms of HUD small business policy, the 4 socioeconomic programs have parity, but I did include an asterisk next to the HubZone small business program. And that's just to say, internally, our Chief Procurement Officer, Ron Flum, has established a preference for when it comes to IT buys to set a preference for HubZone certified businesses, as this is to encourage and help the department meet its statutorily mandated goal of 3% for HubZone businesses. Next slide. Okay, so we get a lot of questions in terms of what are HUD's most frequently used contracting vehicles. And we do rely quite a bit on GSA multiple award schedule, or MAS. And as you can see, these are our most frequently used categories or SIN numbers: information technology, software licenses, auditing, and management and financial consulting. acquisition and grants management, and business program and project management services. We also rely on the multiple award contracts, or OASIS Small Business. And we also use the government-wide acquisition contracts, GWACs. And as you can see, there's a list of Alliant 2, 8A, STARS 3, CIO SP3, NASA SUIT. And of course, across the federal agencies, there is a priority to use best-in-class vehicles. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's just a couple of highlights I want to make in terms of how HUD conducts this market research. So we do encourage vendors to respond to requests for information, sources sought notices, and pre-solicitation notifications. And we do encourage vendors, to tailor their responses accordingly. We also do searches in the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov, as well as the Dynamic Small Business Database. I know in terms of OSBU staff, we do rely on those two systems to search for vendor profiles. And finally, the HUD's forecast of contracting opportunities, has the information, all the information for the department in terms of what kinds of requirements we are seeking for the fiscal year. Next slide, please. Okay. As I mentioned, we are constantly in OSDBU making improvements to the forecast. And as you can see, there's a lot of information contained in the forecast. For example, we are trying to be much more granular in terms of the time that we provide in the forecast. For example, we have identified the anticipated month of the requirement solicitation, release, and award. And it used to be we try to have more general information by quarter, but we wanted to provide more specific information to the business community. We also include information about previous or expiring contract numbers. We identify the NAICS code information, and we also have program office POCs, as well as contracting officers contact information. So we do encourage, when you do see a requirement and you want more information, to contact those points of contact. You can download the forecast from our OSDBU webpage, which is located below. Slide, please. Here are just a couple of pointers in helping vendors understand HUD. So there's so much information now on the internet and on HUD's webpage. You can find HUD's mission and priorities. The budget of HUD is also listed on our website. You can learn more about each of the program offices, as each program office has a landing page. You can find more information about HUD procurements. I mentioned the forecast, but also you can access the SAM.gov system, as well as the OCPO website. Of course, we prefer email rather than phone. This way we can track communications with vendors. We do encourage folks to make sure that they register in the SAM.gov system, as well as the SBS. Of course, the FAR and the HUD-R, the HUD Acquisition Regulation information, is also listed on our website. And of course, each agency has its own language and acronyms. And so we do have a glossary of acronyms. So I do encourage you to take a look at that link. And of course, finally, do be mindful that the OSDBU team is not the end user. And so we encourage vendors to reserve their technical presentations and marketing to the program managers. I mentioned earlier that HUD OSDBU convenes a lot of vendor outreach and workshops. And here's just a calendar of events. And for FY22, we are planning to host our annual HUD IT Industry Day in December. In March, we typically host a women-owned small business outreach event in commemoration of Women's History Month. In May, we will host a HubZone outreach event. And in July, we typically host a service-disabled veteran-owned small business outreach event. And in terms of format, we have used a variety of formats for these convenings. We sometimes host panel discussions of small business owners, and they share their experiences and tips for successfully navigating the federal procurement process. And sometimes we will have a virtual matchmaking component. And in December for IT Industry Day, we do plan to host a virtual matchmaking session. And then periodically, we will host one-on-one interviews with our program colleagues. And we call these sessions live chat with HUD's OSDBU. And these are webinar format. And you can find more information on our website, recordings, and also upcoming sessions and registration information. Next slide, please. So we're a small but mighty team, as you can see. Ms. Shoma Hayes is our Senior Small Business Utilization Specialist, and Derek Pruitt is our Small Business Utilization Specialist, and their contact information is listed on this slide, and you can also find our contact information on our website. So thank you, Ginnie Mae, for this great opportunity to share an overview of OSDBU. And I also encourage all the attendees to participate in HUD's small business program. We need your help in meeting HUD's business needs. And of course, we do look forward to robust participation by both large primes and small businesses to not only meet HUD's mission, but also meet our small business commitments. Thank you.
It is good to be with you today. I am Barbara Cooper Jones. I am Ginnie Mae's Chief Information Officer. My office is the Office of Enterprise Data and Technology Solutions, and I will be sharing information today to help you understand what our mission in life is and how potentially you can help us in the future. Next slide. The Office of Enterprise Data and Technology Solution is responsible for the strategic planning and the execution to ensure that we deliver on the evolving business needs of Ginnie Mae. We develop and implement technology management solutions, and we ensure that our data, our operations, our IT and infrastructure with the proper governance is implemented in every single thing that we do. My divisions and teams are as follows. The Enterprise Data Solutions Division is responsible for implementing the data strategies and information management disciplines, enabling Ginnie Mae to manage data as an enterprise asset. It defines a data strategy, it delivers data as a service capabilities, and other analytics in support of our needs. Our infrastructure team is responsible for strategizing, planning, designing, maintaining, and working with a number of our contractors and consultants to deliver on our cloud-hosted infrastructure operations and the operational efficiency of our securitization platform. Our project management office is a small team, nonetheless very important, that provides project governance and oversight of our IT projects and investments. And our technology management division is responsible for working across the enterprise, helping them to solution and to provide capabilities that meet their evolving business and IT needs. Next slide. Our IT vision and strategy is fueled by many things. We have a number of guiding principles. We have business outcomes that we're trying to achieve, and all of that is maintained and managed by our IT strategy. For those of you who do not have familiarity with Ginnie Mae's mission, our mission is to bring global capital into the housing finance market to ensure that our U.S. housing programs has the liquidity that it needs in support of housing. So the guiding principles that we have aligns with the Ginnie Mae mission, and that is to enable the home ownership. We do want to be a market leader in our MBS program. We also want to ensure that our platform, that it is agile and that it scales and it meets our needs. And then we want to ensure that there is a wonderful customer experience for those that invest and need to obviously leverage our program. And then whatever the market conditions are, we want to be positioned to be able to respond to those market conditions in a very timely manner. If you look at the business outcomes of what we're trying to achieve, I talked about agile and agility. It is speed to market. And so we need to involve our products, and we need to involve our programs and even our policies and the technology supporting all of that to meet those ongoing needs. We want streamlined operations. We need efficiency, and we will get that again as we define and continue to leverage our strategy. And then to be a market leader, embracing innovation, leading by innovation, understanding what the emerging technologies are and those that we need to invest in, and maintaining and building a tech-fluent workforce, one that is data fluent, one that is analytical and fluent, and providing them to capabilities as we hire and we look to retain our valued staff. And so when you look at the guiding principles and you look at our desired outcomes and understand them, then you also have to appreciate the fact that we have to have an IT strategy that aligns with that and allows us to achieve those goals. So with that, there are 4 pillars. There is the mission alignment pillar. There is the operations and optimization pillar. There is the culture of innovation pillar. And there is the talent development pillar. And so I want to share with you some of the objectives that we will be focusing on, not just for the balance of this year, but going into 22 and 23 as well. Next slide, please. So when you look at that first pillar, mission alignment, it is all about us continuing to modernize and transform. We have had tremendous success over the last decade investing in, implementing, and continuing to make those appropriate investments in our modernization program. It has delivered a tremendous return on investment to the taxpayer, and we'll continue modernization. And at some point in probably calendar 2022, you will see modernization transform and morph into something that's even bigger and broader. And that is what we call our Next Gen program. And in this program, we are focusing on a number of strategic objectives, one being product flexibility, another one being digital interoperability, another one being even improved risk management capabilities, delivering data and decisioning and analytics as a service and continuing to involve that, investing in the future of work employees and those skills that we need to continue to maintain and operate our business. And there are a number of other drivers as well, and you will be hearing more from Ginnie Mae in a much, much formal way as we continue to advance and define what this next gen blueprint will look like. And then again, data and analytics, we will not get away from that. We will continue to make investments in that, and then governance. Everything that we do has to have an enhanced governance objective. Operations and optimization. We are very pleased to share with you that we're continuing to make an investment in our cloud journey. We will be moving away from our current cloud provider to the AWS Gov Cloud. It is a very mature cloud. We have done a lot of testing in that. We have a very detailed project plan, any roadmap to get us there. And hopefully by the time you are almost concluding this session, you will hear more about, hopefully, our first successful cloud implementation in AWS. And hyperautomation is really about automating anywhere and automating any and everything that you can. And it's not so much that you're leveraging RPA technology or AI technology or ML technology, but can you actually embed all of these technologies together in a very seamless way so they accomplish the goals that you needed to accomplish? And then I'll just call out one other thing in this pillar, and that is our DevSecOps program. This is an investment that we continue to make. We will do more of that from an investment perspective in the next few years. Continuous integration and continuous delivery is exactly what we are aiming for. And we do have a number of DevSecOps initiatives underway, and we'll continue to expand on that as I shared in the next couple of years. And our culture of innovation really is about equipping our staff, understanding where the technology is, emerging technologies that we need to invest in. How can those technologies help us in our transformation program, our next gen program? What are those technologies we will bring to bear? Who are those individuals who will work with us in delivering those solutions? So all of that is going on in this culture of innovation pillar. As I mentioned DevSecOps before, we are embracing that along with Agile. So much more to come in the future, and certainly we're looking for those capabilities and solutioning. And then last but not least, and the most important, is continuing to invest in our people. It is important to invest in people, process, and technology. It is, to me, more important to invest in the people who will deliver on those other investments for you. And so we will continue to work with our HR community and others to make sure that we embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm very, very supportive of that and really looking forward to what HUD and others will bring to bear. Also following what's going on in the White House so that we align any of our strategies with those of the current administration. I mentioned future of work, and it is all about being able to operate in a completely digital age and embracing that in everything that we do in our thinking, in our analysis, and in our day-to-day execution. Data fluency, it is really important that not just my office, the Enterprise Data Solutions Division in my area, be the most, I would say, skilled and knowledge around data analytics and solution. It is also important that we prepare the enterprise for that. And so there will be a number of initiatives that we will focus on in 2022 that will ensure that we have improved data fluency throughout our organization. Next slide, please. So I just want to highlight some of the key contracts that we have in our area. We have an existing cloud contract, what we call our IT infrastructure consolidation. We will look to move that and more from that and pivot from that into our IT cloud integration effort. And we've actually started doing that. That contract, as you see, was awarded in September of last year. Spent probably the first 6 to 9 months planning, laying out a detailed plan on how we could get to the AWS cloud, and that work continues. And then I wanted to call out a number of our small business contracts. These are not all that we have, but these are some of our important ones. It's our licensing contract. We have a hardware, software maintenance support contract, our AV contract, which is doing phenomenal work for us. We have our solutions architect support contract and a much larger contract, our software development BPA, and there are 4 BPA awarders on that contract. So those are all in play for us. We will have to recompete one of these projects. I'm not at liberty, contracts. I'm not at liberty to share what that is because our procurement plan has not yet been approved by our procurement office. So there's things that I cannot share on this call, but happy to inform you that there will be other support contracts we will be going forward with in the year fiscal 22. Next and final slide. I wanted to share what our focus will be for the next year or two. Analytics and data, I mentioned that as part of our IT strategy. That is first and foremost. This is how individuals need to do their job. So we will be making further investments in data, further procurement investments in analytics. I talked about our cloud migration work. That is with AWS. There are a number of vendors that are on that contract. And so feel free to check with whomever you need to find out more about that contract. Innovation and emerging technologies. This is also an area that we will make broader investments in 2022. Our PMO support, that contract has come to an end, so there will have to be recompeted. So we're looking forward to what will move forward with that contract. And that contract is not just IT PMO support, it is also much broader EPM support, enterprise PMO support as well. And operations and maintenance, we really need to get a handle on this. And I think in a real smarter, more sophisticated way. We have a lot of O&M that's going on. Does it make sense to centralize some of those O&M operations? And if so, how does it make sense to do that? So we're looking forward to reaching out to get some assistance and guidance there to help us with our path forward planning. There is a software development BPA. We will continue to leverage that, hopefully in a much more broader way than we have in the past. We came out the gate a little bit slow on the software development. I think we're in a good cadence now. So you'll see a lot more coming out on that. And then transformation, pivoting from modernization to transformation. We will need a lot of help in this, not just in 2022, but even beyond. So you will hear more from Ginnie Mae. There are many, many needs coming out of our transformation journey and program. And we look forward to leveraging the expertise of many of you that are on this call. And so that concludes my presentation to you. I thank you all very much for being with Ginnie Mae today. You saw the number of small business vendors that I have. We have enjoyed a wonderful experience with them. We continue to make investments with small businesses. We think that's a smart, wise decision. And over time, look forward to engaging with the individuals on that call that allows us to meet our mission work within our Office of Enterprise Data and Technology Solutions. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Toki Luffemakin, and I am the Chief Financial Officer at Ginnie Mae. 5 years ago, I was working as a director for a small business financial technology, also known as a fintech firm, and attending networking events such as this one to learn about opportunities for my small business to partner with the federal government. This made me realize the importance of programs like this one that foster collaboration between the federal government and small businesses. And later, when I joined the federal government, I became a strong supporter of HUD and Ginnie Mae's small business goals. That said, let's take a look today at the Ginnie Mae Office of Finance, also known as OCFO, and how we contribute to the agency as well as small business opportunities within OCFO. On the next slide, regarding roles and responsibilities, OCFO maintains all financial management activities, cash flow operations, accounting systems for Ginnie Mae. In essence, anything finance and accounting related. This includes all accounting and financial reporting services for the agency, investments of Ginnie Mae funds, preparing and managing the budget, financial planning and analytics in support of decision making, facilitating the audit, minimizing financial control risk to Ginnie Mae, and so much more. And OCFO has about 8 divisions to support these goals. Let's start with the budget division. The budget team is responsible for budget formulation and execution. They're responsible for forecasting and also responsible for funds control. They're the liaison between Ginnie Mae and OMB, and then Ginnie Mae and HUD budget. The Treasury team is responsible for cash flow management, responsible for timely execution of our MBS pass-through payments, and all of Ginnie Mae's investment strategies. Then we also have the accounting governance group, and they're responsible for managing OCFO risk, ensuring the effectiveness of internal controls of financial reporting, compliance with financial policies, and supporting an effective audit. We have a controllers department, which is a pretty large group. There are different subdivisions under the controllers department, 4 subdivisions to be exact. And the first one, the Federal Financial Reporting Department, is responsible for the preparation of federal financial statements in compliance with FASAB. And we also have another group under the Controllers Division, which is the Commercial Financial Reporting Group, and they are responsible for the preparation and the issuance of financial statements in compliance with FASB. Another group under the Controllers Division is the Accounting Operations Department. The Accounting Operations team is responsible for your day-to-day accounting transactions, offering financial support to all the program offices in Ginnie Mae. And last, we have the Accounting Systems Group. The Accounting Systems Group is responsible for processing all our financial accounting data, managing the accounting system, enhancements to the system, and handling, in essence, all system modernization efforts. And next, on the next slide, let's talk a little bit about OCFO strategic drivers. This is important because there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe where OCFO will be asked to play a significant role, not the least of which is the ongoing pandemic and an economic recovery, implementation of new accounting standards such as CECL, modernization of our accounting systems, the expansion of operational or business procedures at Ginnie Mae to handle new issuers, issuer defaults, and just the capital markets environment in general. So OCFO has to be prepared to adapt and respond to these complex accounting and operational procedures. On the next slide, you would see OCFO's response to these strategic drivers. I mean, we mentioned the economic uncertainty of the pandemic, enhancing our accounting systems, changing business operations and accounting standards. What we have done at OCFO is to create 3 distinct and defined objectives that will position Ginnie Mae to respond effectively as our role in the mortgage industry continues to grow more complex. The 3 objectives are sustaining audit opinions, producing high quality management reports and analytics that drive informed decision making, and modernizing our accounting system, including bots and automation of OCFO's business processes. On the next slide, you will see how we've aligned our 3 strategic objectives to Ginnie Mae's strategic goals. We've done that in a couple of ways. I mean, and just to go over Ginnie Mae's strategic goals real quick, Ginnie Mae has 3 main strategic goals, which are ensuring the robustness of our MBS program, protecting the administration of our government guarantee, and safeguarding the Ginnie Mae security. Over the next few years, OCFO will continue to build capabilities based on our strategic drivers that have been aligned to Ginnie Mae's goals, and also in consideration of our ever-changing environment, which includes complex areas of mortgage accounting, And also Ginnie Mae is responsible for preparing dual bases of accounts, which means that we must maintain 2 sets of books, one for federal accounting and another one for commercial accounting to the public. So with all of that in mind, we need contractors and consulting partners that can be tasked with high value consultation on complex mortgage accounting issues, on new housing finance initiatives, on modernization of and transformation of our financial systems, on more data-driven analytics, and adjusting and being able to adjust quickly and being flexible to respond to a rapidly changing business environment. On the next slide, we have a summary of all the contracts within OCFO, current contracts and planned contracts that support our strategic goals. The awarded contracts include an accounting systems contract, a financial management and internal controls contract, an information technology support contract, and a financial improvement contract. Now you'd see that all 4 contracts were either awarded to a small business or to a contractor that partners with small businesses. Because as I said in the beginning, this is, partnering with small businesses and supporting HUD's small business goals is extremely important to us at OCFO. The planned contracts that we have for 2021 through 2022 include the recompete of the accounting systems contract that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, the recompete of the financial management contract, an IT systems analysis contract, which is really, which is more your IT tools as opposed to our accounting systems, so EUCs. And then the financial improvement recompete. Again, all these contracts have small business opportunities we intend to either award to a small business or we ensure that embedded within the contracts, the larger contract, this opportunity for partnership with small businesses. As I mentioned earlier, OCFO is a strong advocate for small business utilization, ensuring that small businesses are treated fairly and have access to opportunities to compete and be selected for a fair amount of the division's contracting opportunities. With that said, good luck and thank you.
Good morning. My name is Renee Mondañedo. I am a director in the Office of Issuer Portfolio Management. I will be presenting to you today a summary of what our office does and the contracts that we are responsible for. Next page. The Officer of Issuer Portfolio Management has 2 main responsibilities. It oversees the management of all active issuers in the Ginnie Mae portfolio, and we do that through our account executives. In addition to the oversight of the issuers, we also monitor and enforce all the Ginnie Mae guide and program requirements via our mortgage banking analyst. One of the things we also do is we approve and supervise all document custodian and subservicer relationships. In terms of the oversight of our programs, as you can see, we have in the forward space, the single family, the rural development and public Indian housing, as well as the manufactured housing. In addition, we have all the reverse mortgages, which is our commonly known as HECMs, and the multifamily agency programs. We work with a number of our industry and key stakeholders, such as subservicers, service providers, and the insuring agencies, such as, again, FHA, VA, and RD. And we do this so that we can build the relationships and facilitate the partnerships between issuers, Ginnie Mae, and the agencies. The Office of Issuer and Portfolio Management is composed of 3 divisions. That is the single family, the multifamily, and the monitoring and asset management, of which I am the director. Next page. So in terms of the monitoring and asset management, we provide the oversight and the enforcement of all the Ginnie Mae guide and program requirements. We work directly with our account executives in the oversight of all our issuers. On a regular basis, my division conducts compliance testing of all our issuers and document custodians. We're also involved in the critical pathway for the transfer of all collateral between issuers. Collateral is defined as all the mortgage notes and trailing docs. We work closely with the account executive and the issuer to remediate any guide compliance shortfalls. We also, from time to time, have to execute termination and seizure activities of issuers that are removed from the Ginnie Mae MBS program. The contracts that we deal with on a regular basis, as you can see listed here, we have a contract with our single family master subservicer, one with a reverse mortgage master subservicer, a multifamily master subservicer. And again, this is all related to when we, Ginnie Mae, have to terminate and seize the Ginnie Mae portfolio of an issuer that has been removed from the Ginnie Mae program. I spoke about our compliance testing of issuers. This is done through our field review contract, as well as below the financial statement review contract, which is all issuers are required to submit audited financial statements, and we have a contractor that does that. Next page. One of the areas where all these contracts, at least you'll see below the 4 contracts, is what I call in our asset management group, which I'm responsible for. So as I said, one of my primary roles is in the seizure of all Ginnie Mae mortgage portfolios of terminated issuers from the Ginnie Mae MBS program. We manage all the seized portfolios, and we hand those over to our contractors. In addition to that, we oversee the document custodian relationship for those seized assets. As I said, we manage all the subservicing, which they are these for single family, multifamily, HMBS. We manage that relationship with each of those contractors. We also oversee the disposition of the assets from those defaulted portfolios. In order to do this effectively, we have to work with the offices of finance, the general counsel, and our enterprise risk to ensure that all legal and financial obligations are met for the U.S. government as it relates to these seized assets. And as I had stated earlier, that we do this in the form of 4 contracts and contractors. Again, the single family, the multifamily, the HMBS, which is our reverse mortgage, and our manufactured housing. Next page. All right, so with that, I just hopefully you've been provided an initial glimpse into what the Office of Portfolio Management do. It's my understanding that you will have the opportunity to ask questions in the upcoming breakout sessions. Again, thank you for your time.
Hello, how are you today? My name is Victoria Vargas, and I'm going to be speaking to you today on the Office of Securities Operations. So what I'd like to start with is a snapshot. Some of you may already be familiar with the size of Ginnie Mae and what we do, but I find that this slide just kind of gives you a better indication of the magnitude of our organization. So a couple of things I'd like to highlight here is that we are the second largest guarantor right behind Fannie Mae with regard to our securities outstanding. And if you look here, our security outstanding balance as of February of this year is right at $2.1 trillion. And so The Office of Securities Operations is responsible for really managing the securitization platform. And as you can see here, it's made up of a series of proprietary business applications, databases, and systems. They're all pretty highly customized and automated. And one other point, we do have about 400 active issuers. On a monthly basis, there's about $86 billion that get paid out P&I to our investors. So I just wanted to share this snapshot to give you some context of the size of the MBS program. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the actual Office of Securities Operations. So in our office, we're truly responsible for the management of the securitization platform. We are made up of 4 divisions, and I'll just give you a quick highlight on each one of those divisions. The first one is the operations division, and they're really focused on the day-to-day operation, making sure that the securities get issued, that the monthly investor reporting requirements are met, that we are disclosing information on a regular basis and as expected. They also make sure that all of those systems and applications that I mentioned earlier are functioning the way they need to function. And if there are any challenges with that, the ops team would be on point for getting those issues resolved. So that's the operations division. Then we have another division that we call process and product. Now, in the process and product division, this is where we have folks, it's basically a large group of project managers and some business analysts, and they manage a lot of the modernization and enhancements efforts. So let's say something goes wrong with one of the applications, or there's something that needs to be fixed. We may partner with the process and product team to say, hey, there's an enhancement, we need to get this queued up, and we need to get this addressed and resolved. But they also focus on bigger projects across the enterprise. So the project managers really focus on the design, the development, the requirements gathering, the testing of any new functionality with regards to the MBS program and our products. And then there's the program administration division, for which I am the director of that division. And so in my area, we basically have like 3 major tenets. First one is when managing the securitization platform, we often refer to our operational contracts, for which we have 2 that really carry the bulk of the load. And I'll tell you more about those in a moment. So within PAD, we manage those procurements. Actually, we manage the entire OSO portfolio. So all the procurements that support OSO at large are managed, fall under my stewardship and managed by my team. I also have the web manager on my team. So, she makes sure that everything gets published timely and post any communications or things of that nature. And we also have one other role, and that is we support the Office of Strategic Planning in assessing any new initiatives we call business initiatives. And so my team will help to develop business cases in order to inform Ginnie Mae and make determinations and decisions on any future investments that Ginnie Mae may want to make. So that's the PAD team. And then we also have the customer experience division. And the customer experience division really kind of works in partnership with the process and product division. So as we are introducing new functionality or new technology, it's really important that the customer experience division work with them. So they're highly involved in our project governance. They do develop trainings. They conduct the outreach to our external constituents and internal. They also manage all of those communication plans. And the goal here is to ensure that the customer is well positioned to adopt whatever new technology or business function we might introduce. So that's the role of the customer experience division. Now, back to the 2 contracts that I mentioned earlier. This is what we kind of refer to as our back office or our operational support contracts. It's the mortgage-backed securities issuance and bond administration, referred to as the MBS IBA. And we also have the mortgage-backed securities operations and analytics contract, referred to as the MBS OA. So the way I like to think of these is that MBS IBA is kind of the front end process where they actually issue the securities, and they also collect the fees associated with those securities. And then I like to think of the MBSOA as kind of like the life of the security. So this is where the monthly reporting happens, where the disclosure of the securities is also gathered and published. And also in that particular procurement, we have a risk and analytics component. So they also perform that function for us. You'll notice that both of these contracts have an operations and maintenance aspect to them. And at the very beginning, I mentioned that this platform is comprised of a series of applications and such. So some of those applications fall under the stewardship of the MBS IBA, where they provide application O&M support. And some of those applications fall under the MBS OA. And so they would provide the application O&M support with regard. But at the end of the day, these two primary contracts really are essential to managing the mortgage-backed securities program. So aside from those procurements, I mentioned that that OSO has its own kind of portfolio. So I did go ahead and provide a list here of the procurements that fall under the OSO division or office of OSO. So you can see here, IBA, OA, we also have the software development BPA, we have the independent verification validation contract, we have a centralized help desk contract. Just run through these real quick. We have the ServiceNow CSM, a business solutions contract that helps support those business cases that I mentioned earlier, the development of business cases. We have the e-learning, which really falls under the customer experience, because this is where we are actually developing training materials that can be available in a learning management system. Digital Collateral is another contract that we recently awarded. It supports some of the digital initiative. And also we have the COOP support contract. And then we have two new ones that'll be coming in FY22. And that's the next gen support as well as customer experience support. And so then in summary, just kind of want to highlight some of the contracts that have been awarded recently, and then some of those that we have planned for FY22. So it was just this past January, we awarded the MBS IBA. Both of the e-learning and the digital collateral contracts were awarded this summer. And what we have planned for FY22, it's actually time for us to recompete the MBSOA contract. So that's getting queued up, as well as recompete on the COOP support, on our business solutions contract. And then the other two items that I had mentioned as net news, which is our next gen support, as well as our customer experience support. So that's kind of a lay of the land with regard to the type of services that the Office of Securities Operations will be seeking in the upcoming year. Thanks for your time and have a great day.